2025, and you're listening to the While We Still Can podcast, where we talk about Missouri news, national news, sometimes international news, and whatever we're in the mood to talk about. Today we've got Anthony Andrews back. We're so glad you're here.
Yay, Tony!
We have a good conversation every time you come by, and we got a lot to talk about. The obvious that's overwhelming the news and the emotions of everyone we know. And
so many emotions from so many.
So there's a lot of emotions flying around. So, I mean, well deserved. It's cool. We've been over this before.
Well, we're trying
Violence is never the answer.
No, but I would just really
like
for you guys to match that for like the school children. That's my only.
That would be great. Really appreciate that.
But we've decided that we think the reason that particular types of men are feeling a certain type of way about this is because it's the first time they were reminded that, hey, man, when you radicalize large swaths of people, you can't, yes, you have freedom of speech, apparently, allegedly, before Trump was president, I guess, but First Amendment, but you also have responsibility. It comes with responsibility. Yeah. You do not have freedom to terrorize people with your words. So,
and let's remember that historically, people have the freedom to say whatever they want without the government putting them in jail. Okay, you're not free of consequences from your words, right? I think they forget that. Except now we seem to be encroaching on a time when maybe they will try to put people in jail or make them suffer consequences from a government level because of words. Well, so that's interesting.
I would agree. I think when you look at what's happening literally today in the last 24 hours, where they're trying to dox anybody online that is critical, has made certain statements towards the death of Charlie Kirk, they're actually listing people's work addresses and actually going and trying to find out what they can about them. And they're creating this list of 20,000 people that are involved in either government or education or different things. I've seen a couple posts about it already with real account names and names on there. I mean, they are really pushing to try to create some massive movement towards inciting some sort of violence and creating more division by actually affecting people's lives and lifestyles based off of free speech, the free speech that we're supposed to have.
I thought it was very interesting that Pete Hegseth put out a memo that encouraged all of the State Department and Department of Defense people to turn in their coworkers if they say or post anything that has to do negatively about Charlie Kirk, their new martyr. Like, how perfect of a timing.
If that's not fascist behavior, I don't know what is.
No, and the other part of this is twisting that they will always do no matter what. And when it comes to Charlie, any post you put out there using his own words. If you've seen what I posted recently, I'm literally just saying these are the words that he used. And then what I'm finding as the argument, and I see this on other posts outside of even my own posts, is, well, that's not the context. That's not the context. And that's their argument is context. One, because they know in some cases people won't put the full context out there, or two, they actually will put it out there to spin the context, or three, they know their followers will just fully believe that that's untrue and just not even bother trying to investigate the truth of it all and just fall in line with the narrative that they want them to follow, if that makes sense.
So now we're seeing, Lisa, I know we had an episode the other day, and the news cycle's just moving so fast that it's crazy. But so the other day we were kind of stuck on, was it Israel or was Israel involved, because he recently has been kind of questioning Israel and stuff. But then we had the new Groyper movement.
The Groypers.
And if it's that, do we want to explain? Did we explain Groyper the other day? I don't know, but okay. So MAGA has the two factions, or they kind of splintered off. There's the neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes, even though his last name's Fuentes. Okay, he's a Nazi straight up. He says it. I'm a white supremacist. And he does not like Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk is not right enough for him. Is that?
Yeah, that's what I see out there. Is he wasn't right enough.
Okay.
And also, is it true that we're all let's just face the fact that we're all old except for Tina?
Oh, I'm old.
Well, I guess
I'm old.
Anthony, I just called you old. Sorry,
I know,
but there's this like meme component of all this that we don't understand, that I don't understand. You know, that you had to be like online and chat rooms and on Reddit since you were 12 to be able to really understand what's happening here. Is that accurate?
Well, and I think when it comes down to the whole scheme of things, so you have to understand that this has been ongoing for 10 years now. Each of these people, I mean, I saw people posting Charlie Kirk posts from 2013 that were, mirroring things that he's been saying now. So this has been an ongoing operation, so to say, and they all go back to the same thing. It's just like when I posted a picture of Sergio Gore, who's the now ambassador to wherever and former White House director of personnel.
Unvetted, that was vetting everybody.
Unvetted, and that was actually turned out to be a Russian, and we still haven't heard anything else basically about that. Well, he had a picture of himself with Benny Johnson at a young American Republican event, YAF, Young American Foundation. And back in 2014, I mean, when you take all of what we see right now and these very high profile people that are similar to what Charlie Kirk was doing, you've got, Benny Johnson, you've got Sergio Gore in key critical White House positions, and you go back to what they were involved with 10 years ago, it starts to paint a clear picture. This is an operation that has been ongoing. And then you bring Nick Fuentes into it. A lot of people might have forgot that, Nick showed up at Mar-a-Lago with fucking Kanye West.
Oh my God. So Kanye West is like the perfect, like Nick Fuentes and him can really vibe on like being Nazis, but like not looking or sounding like them with their name and their demographic.
Clarence Thomas is their OG, right? I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Question. Okay. What do you think? So Benny Johnson obviously came out in that indictment that he was connected to tenant media in Russia. Where was Charlie getting where did his money come from? Who was funding him? So is it from United States, I guess?
Yes.
It's like moms and pops who are given the $20 of their grocery money every month.
Well, I feel like there's two groups of oligarchs. There are foreign oligarchs, and then we have our United States oligarchs, like Cheney's, all Romney's, all of them. And then we have like the Russian arm that wants to take it out, and the Chinese arm, and the Israeli. And so I was just wondering.
Oligarchs.
Yeah, and we need to remind the people that it's us against the oligarchs, even though they're really trying to remind us that think it's religion or culture based.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, what I feel really going to the larger picture of this is with the Internet Research Agency. We talked about this recently. Was the core of the election interference and influence through Facebook and a lot of the digital platforms leading up to the election in 2016. They were indicted, 13 of them, including Putin chef Prigozhin, who was assassinated eventually later because he tried to do a coup on Putin because of Ukraine and all that other stuff.
Was he the chef?
Yeah, he was the chef. Yep.
He was a chef coup thrower. Okay. Multifaceted. Yeah. Love it.
But I don't know. I don't know exactly why they called him the chef, because he wasn't a chef.
Oh, okay.
But he was like the main guy for Russia because he cooked up all these schemes, I guess. Whether it be Wagner, he was in charge of Wagner Group. He was in charge of the Internet Research Agency, all these various schemes. But I think, having read the Internet Research Agency indictments, it's only about 37 pages, and it's clear that it was the Trump operation was aligned with the same operation that was going on there. I used a page out of that, and I posted it off, and I'll repost it again. It's got 10 ad buys that the Internet Research Agency did in 2016 on Facebook. And when you actually read the wording of the 10 ad buys, they're actually almost talking points of the Trump campaign at the exact same time. I mean, that itself shows one thing, but the level of organization that they talk about the Internet Research Agency having at the time. I mean, they had managers. They were doing They would do reviews on the people involved to make sure that they're hitting key goals. It was a very coordinated, organized, years-long operation that started way back in Ukraine, having to do with art inclusion as well. But the point I'm getting to is once it was successful in 2016 and Trump took control, they created an in-country system.
Shell company type.
We've been dealing with now. Yes. I think they created that same network.
Or the bot idea, the way to disseminate the information, the misinformation.
I think it's really interesting on TikTok how when an event happens, like you'll see a variety of conspiracy theories or angles and it's like they see which one sticks and go with that one. And the rest of the ones disappear. And that feels like an effort that's it's immediate. You see it immediately.
It's very algorithmic now with AI and everything that can identify that stuff quickly. I think it's easy to see. I was kind of talking about this on our other chat, and leading to it just before we got on the call is one of the things is that piece of it. I think they just know through algorithms and what they see through the data automatically can make adjustments to what's being fed to various people and how people are absorbing that. I think it's more tech involved than people realize. I think, even tracking our eye movements towards our phones and what we're looking at when we're looking at our phones.
That's incredible.
That I think a lot of that is much more prevalent than people realize. But I also think when it comes to dissemination of information, I think part of the problem is they've learned to water down information. And what I was getting to earlier was about on Facebook, way back in the day when I was more active on there, and it wasn't as
weird,
ad-filled and insane as it is now. I remember seeing an article, like big articles would come out, something big would happen, and an article from NBC would show up on my feed, which was what I expected. I probably followed NBC or something like that. And you'd see comments on it, and it'd have 200-300 comments, and everybody putting their 2 cents in, and they're fighting, and all of the things that they do, especially on Facebook. You see that a lot with our people even we know. But then I would see that same article that I had maybe commented on myself previously coming out onto the feed, but it didn't have my comment in it. So basically what it was is they were reposting it as new, which basically I felt was then watering down people's engagement.
The replies on it and how much attention it was getting and people talking about it within themselves to notice inconsistencies and stuff. Yeah.
So to have 5 different, independent posts of that article by NBC watered down the conversation 5 different times. It stifles
conversations.
Conversation. And I think that's what we see from an algorithmic standpoint, even now, having crossed over to Twitter. I think what happens is our information gets stifled and we're put into these little boxes within Twitter.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a box. They got the lid on that shit.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about the old KGB warfare, the psychological warfare of the reflexive control, and they're using that with media to only feed information to people after they figure out what you already believe and push you towards only give you information to come up with the conclusion that they want you to have.
Yeah. And for people that are at home thinking, wait, what? This can't be, like, what are some documentaries that we've seen or books that we've read about this stuff that people can go to?
Craig Unger has Craig Unger has a lot about it. Who else?
I think if you looked at, for example, the Cambridge Analytica documentary on Netflix, I think it kind of delves into it a little bit too, just helping people understand how they were manipulating people and all of that. That was one of the genesis pieces of all of this.
Well,
what's the one that's specifically about Facebook? I can't remember the title of it. I Google it. It's a good one though, because like you say, Anthony, it goes through exactly the mechanism that this works that we don't even notice if we're not paying attention.
But when you do pay attention, you can totally see it. And I think it's very interesting. I hear a lot of people be like, oh, well, a documentary, again, is just a couple people that have a thought about something and they get a bunch of information together to support that. I understand that a documentary might not mean something absolute. But if you watch that and get a little behind of the, get a little understanding about it, then you can go to the actual court documents and with like under oath, legitimate, like, so you cannot tell me that that is fake or it was in a court of law. Either you believe something or you believe nothing. And you believe something because you get up and go to work in the morning and do your job that's based on science. So I don't want to hear that shit. I don't know.
Well, no, and I agree completely. The thing is that, we get online, we look at the stuff that we look at, things are different, things are being fed to us. We have this natural tendency to respond differently to different things based on our own biases, emotions, what we're going through that day. But I think the other thing to consider is the lack of attention that people want to give to stuff, or also, especially when it comes to you presenting the court documents or screenshots of the court documents. I mean, it's what I do day in and day out with all of my threads.
Right.
I mean, I use verifiable stuff that's out there, and oftentimes the words of the people doing it themselves.
How dare you use my words against me?
Well, and they've been conditioned that way. That's the whole thing on the right. They've been conditioned to question reality, basically, even when it's put in front of you. So yesterday I had an obvious bot comment on something I had posted, and it had to do with the Musayev claim, or no, it had to do with the Trump drawing girl, and then his note to Epstein in the birthday book. And the guy's like, well, I'm not just going to believe a screenshot. It's the literal screenshot of the damn thing from the book. Because that's what they do. Well, show me more proof. So then I screen ruled up to 157, page 157 out of 268 pages. I did a quick video screen roll showing him all of that. And then his next thing was like, well, I have epilepsy and I could go have I can't watch that because I may have a seizure. And I was like, and then at that point, I was like, look at the excuses these people are willing to come up with to avoid having to actually read factual documents that he even asked me for.
Wow, that's wild. I mean, that's a lot. And then they were arguing about, or saying that maybe the signature wasn't accurate or wasn't legit. And so, you look and you see people have taken their time to dig up his signature from literally 30 years ago, and obviously it's the same signature, but there's always like another step that they won't believe.
Well, that's what they're trained. That's what they're conditioned to. That's what the bots are there for.
Yeah.
It's just continue to exhaust us.
Well, right. To reinforce their already cognitive dissonance, because they don't want him to be in there. And I'm starting to learn that, like, because for a long time, I'm like, okay, like, you guys know he's a fucking pedophile and you're just okay with it. The texts that I received from Republican men after Charlie Kirk was murdered, for one, they were just straight up like, this is your fault. People on the left, you're the only good liberal I know. Straight up. Like, that was a sentence they said to me, which is terrifying. I was like, listen, dude, we need to, like, turn this down. We're all humans, and we don't need to, no one deserves to die unless they're a pedophile, because I was using that as a little in, right? And so, I know. I was like, oh, you're okay, baby boy. Your little lover died, but pedophiles, right? So, he wrote back, he's like, they're not rehabable. They should die, all of this stuff. And I'm like, no, you literally voted for one 3 times. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I think they truly. But then again, I'm like, no, you cannot. You're choosing to not look at information.
Well, we saw that, not to go off on a tangent, but we saw that with COVID. People would believe that up to their dying moment, or their loved one's dying moment, and never change their mind. So we can't change their minds. We might as well forget about that.
Yeah. Well, and the lack of belief has been ingrained in them. There's 2 things I was thinking about recently. One is with the MAGA people, they've just been conditioned to go against it and never believe whatever reality's in front of them, because they're hearing this from Trump or his supporters, that it's a hoax or whatever word they're using that day to turn it around. But when it comes to the complacent people, what I have found in real life is the people that really aren't involved, when you try to even talk to them, they almost get defensive in a way that, how dare you make me think about that type of stuff.
I don't do politics. I don't do politics. Yeah. Well, do you live in this society? Because yes, you do.
Yeah, and ignoring it sure as hell isn't going to fix anything.
and they're fucking children. Like, I don't understand.
Yes.
Okay, Anthony, diocese and all of these people that were around during the time, and the church was gaslighting him for like 10, 15 years, right?
Yeah.
So remember when all of that stuff came out about, was it the Southern Baptist or was it Catholic? I can't remember, like in almost 2020-ish time, where everything was coming out about all these churches abusing children. And Josh Hawley, our attorney general at the time, was like, I care about this because I'm running for the Senate here in about a couple months. So I'm going to care about something. So he made a big deal about this and essentially had this Chris guy and a bunch of other people come into the Capitol and tell their stories in front of a committee to start an investigation. Well, so he goes and he went and talked to these lawmakers a couple different times, like talked about his terrible, traumatic life,
Can you imagine how hard that must have been to relive that in a room full of strangers and hope that maybe you'd get some...
And lied to over
justice.
and over. And so
ridiculous.
Again, Josh Hawley decided to run for Senate literally a month later, and everything went to shit because he left, and we got like an interim guy. And so Eric Schitt, who is now also a senator.
Failing up.
So sorry, that was a lot of background information. But yesterday I was listening to this podcast. Sean Atwood, I don't know. I listen to him sometimes, but he interviews a lot of different people regarding the Jeffrey Epstein saga, and he talks to all of the victims, survivors, people involved, blah, blah, blah. Well, a man named Kevin, who he has been deeply involved, he has his own theories and conspiracies about this shit. And, he's a journalist and he writes books and stuff. But he was on there and he was talking about his version of what he thought happened to Charlie Kirk, right? And so he thinks it was the Danites, which is the Mormon church in Europe, I guess, and the Catholic church.
Oh, the Mormons have entered the chat.
The Mormons, and the shooter that had a transgender roommate that has nothing to do with anything was Mormon.
Allegedly.
I think
it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
He was.
Well, like his whole family he was raised in the Mormon church. He was raised as a Mormon. Okay. So there is all of this deep, I don't know if it's conspiracy. But again, child trafficking rings throughout the world and transnational crime. And a lot of it has to do with the sacrifice of children and the beliefs of these different churches. And these churches also have all this money. Well, he brought Cardinal Dolan, into the chat. Okay, so Cardinal Dolan was brought up by Chris specifically several times in our interview because he was what's in between a priest and a cardinal? A bishop?
Yeah.
Is it a bishop? Okay. Yes. So he was the archbishop for the area of churches that the priest that molested Chris in. And Chris was like, I know Dolan knows that this happened to me. And all I need for him is to tell me that it could have happened to me because I am gaslighting myself. I cannot trust myself, and all of these other church leaders told me that this was not real. So he wrote Cardinal Dolan, who was in New York at the time. And because he's next in line to be the Pope. But Leo got it, right? Donald Trump was pushing for Cardinal Dolan to be the Pope. But I got off on a tangent. But all these people are related, guys. Like, all of these nasty... I just, like, my brain cannot understand the depth of all of this. So...
Well,
what comes to mind?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the depths of it are so outrageous when you actually get some of the facts that are out there. I mean, you're right. It was, we've known for decades the Catholic Church has been covering up child molestation, especially against young boys, altar boys, all of that for decades, if not hundreds of years. It was, I think, the Presbyterian Church or something, I forget which one it was, that was outed, in 2020, along with even, I think, the Mormon Church. Well, they have their own issues anyway, especially with the young marriages and all that. I mean, it all does very much connect and tie together, and all they're doing is protecting themselves. You look at when you go back to Pizzagate and all of that, and everything that has happened up until this point, everything they've blamed everybody else for, practically we have evidence that they're the ones that have been involved in this stuff for a very, very long time, whether it be through the Catholic Church, whether it be through the Mormon Church, whether it be through another church. Don't get me started on churches. But, I think churches, the one thing I'll say about churches are probably the biggest money laundering factories in the entire world, because who's really paying attention to a church?
It's perfectly legal. Yep.
Yep. And look at how some of these church leaders live. They're not doing it for God. That's for damn sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, having read a little bit about Scientology, it feels like, they bullied their way into a religious organization, status by the IRS. Yeah.
But, when you go back to kind of bringing this all back to that's where this comes into, where this was normalized to some extent, probably through our CIA and other intelligence agencies around the world, to allow these things to happen so that they could create compromise to control people, and also through money. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is a widespread
fraud
operation.
And
much broader in scope than anybody understands.
So what do we do about it?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, my thing is just the truth, keep putting it out there as simply as possible, and hope that people will start listening. I think, my thing of repeating the truth so often and the things that I write a lot is because eventually it'll stick. Eventually they'll see something that they'll be like, huh.
Oh.
All of a sudden that actually makes sense because I saw that before. So,
well, and going back to what we were talking about with the KGB reflexive control idea. So I think one of the key things to help reverse some of this stuff is to have the people ask questions. Like, they need to think that they are coming up with, push them towards why aren't you that was weird. And then they're like, oh, that was weird. What was this? Or, oh, this doesn't line up. But again, we still have that section of people that no matter what we say, But
well, I agree. I think I mentioned before, when I worked for one, we took 6-month course as management people, multi-unit managers, on having what was called powerful conversations.
Right.
One of the key things in powerful conversations is asking some sort of leading questions that help people self-identify, because that allows them to come up with solutions themselves that you can then hold them accountable to, because it's the solutions they came up with, not us just feeding something to them.
Not telling you. It's like with a toddler. You can't tell them what to do. They need to think it was their idea. So what do we do with these other people that...
Subtle.
Yeah.
It's difficult online to kind of lay that groundwork and all of that, but I think there's some tactics in that we can identify, like asking the questions, what do you think the end goal should be, and just getting them to feed the information and create the narrative, but guiding them to the answer or solution. I don't think that's going to work with MAGA for the most part, the hardcore, but it could work with the people that are still undecided, that are at least engaging. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are engaging, but are still on the fence, even if they're leaning right.
Yeah.
Or maybe just started paying attention to begin with and haven't really had an opportunity to to think about it.
Well, I'm lucky because I think this stuff is interesting. I mean, it also totally gives me anxiety, but it's like my true crime. Some people, relax watching like murder documentaries. Mine's like child sex trafficking rings. Yeah. I don't know.
Quiet, my show's on.
So what do we do? What do we do about the lack of empathy or humanness or, trust or respect for these positions of power? How do we make sure that this stuff doesn't happen? I'm trying to be solution oriented, because I know that to have a something that the resistance can latch onto, it can't just be hate to the other side, or and so I'm always trying to figure out what can we give them to look forward to.
Well, I think if we claw our way back to some legislative power, then we have to make some changes that take the money out of the equation. So that
I think that is absolutely right. I think that's the hope for the best part of everything. I think the other part is playing for the worst part, because I honestly think
that's where we're going.
The opportunity to take control in any of this is diminishing by day when it comes to legislative power.
Well, and Missouri, let me tell you, Missouri is ground zero for this shit. We got our ass-eating Cheeto face Mike Kehoe governor who is a used car salesman, just like, hey, Trump, let me just take it all in the butt, you know, like...
No videos.
I know, totally. I'll do my makeup that day. But seriously, it was disgusting. And I'll tell you, we had a rally last Wednesday at the Capitol. There were over 5,000 people in Missouri at the Capitol on a Wednesday at noon. Yeah. And it was part union rally. So because with this gerrymandering, basically they're going to make us a right to work state again. And just like they've been trying to do for years. And the unions obviously will not benefit from that. So it's funny how people come out to like fight for like their quality of living. But, you know, if it's women, sorry, but I'm not going to go there. 5,000 people, all three levels of the rotunda was full. I've never seen that many people there. And they still fucking passed the gerrymandering that night. So
they don't care. They don't care what the people think. To think that they are there to represent their constituency is now just a joke. Absolutely.
So how?
Well, you have to vote them out, but my God, in Missouri, there's oftentimes nobody to vote against, like nobody to run against them.
And here's the thing: we don't need a revolution. We need resolution.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We need to find ways to resolve this. We need to be resolutionary, not revolutionary.
Yeah.
Is the way I think. Is we need to think of ways to resolve the problems that we have. You know, when we talk about this stuff, others might say we're trying to
burn the Constitution.
Yes, we're going to ruin the Constitution. No, the Constitution is the thing we're trying to protect.
Hey, they got rid of all the FBI directors and the field offices, so we're good. We're not going to be turned into anybody.
If we had people playing by the rules and being ethical at every level, we would still be following the Constitution. But we're not. Like we've talked about a million times, every week, like the guardrails and the institutions are chipped away more and more. Now we're seeing how the FBI has been eroded significantly. You know, you got some tool shed in charge, and tool shed number 2 is second in command. It's how can you expect a law enforcement agency to function like that?
Well, we have podcasters running all of those agencies. I swear I could do a better job, guys. I'm just saying, like, put me in, coach. I'm here. Media, whatever. But it's a banana republic. It is. So after Charlie got popped the other day, at first I was scared, especially when I had all these Republican men messaging me out of the blue saying, this is your fault. That's terrifying. Sorry, but I'm not going to let them know that. But
we need t-shirts that say, I did not shoot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. I just don't understand how they can't extrapolate that to the children, but whatever.
The gaslighting, the control of the narrative. You go to any news channel right now, and they're still letting these people get onto their stations and spew this misinformation. You know, I talked recently online about, you know, you've got Benny Johnson and a number of others who were proven to have been paid through Russian money. Well, they were exposed, but that didn't change anything that they're doing. Yeah. They're still spewing Russian narratives.
Well,
they're still out there.
I think that they're at the point in their brainwashing where they're like, we should be Russia. Mm-hmm. Like, they're like, no, I like that now. Like, I have been brainwashed enough to think that I want that. And that is hard. But I will tell you, in those texts that I had received from people on the other side, they obviously trust me because I'm the only good liberal they know. Little do they know. But I think that the only way that this is gonna really change is by individual relationships and conversations, which doesn't seem like it's going to work fast enough.
You're right. Well, there has to be some national type of
coordination
event, coordination that, but I'm talking about, not, I don't even want to use it.
Like bring
Kirk
everybody
type of
together.
Yeah, something that happens, like, we go back to 9/11. This week, we haven't even got 9/11. And look what happened on 9/12. I mean, we were all united. We were all
Right.
same. Now, what happened and what the government did from that, kind of is
Right.
a tell of, what brought us to where we're at now. I read something earlier where, when 9/11 occurred, the first thing, Republicans did was blame people that didn't do it, like Afghanistan and Iraq.
That's weird.
Them. And then when Charlie Kirk is dead, even though there's proof otherwise, they're coming after the people who didn't do it, which is us. They're using the same tactic they did in 9/11.
They've othered us as, folks on the left side.
I had extremely intelligent people that are very well educated text me and say, this is your side's fault. What?
I saw something earlier today where it was somebody that had posted a video talking about this is the left, and it was a guy with a microphone saying, we got Charlie Kirk, and, with a couple people in front of him, like a little protest or whatever, and he's in a microphone. And I just said to the guy, how do you even know that's a Democrat that's doing that?
Right.
I mean, if you guys say all the time, anytime we show proof that it was a Republican that burnt down this building in Minnesota, well, all of a sudden now, no, that's a Fed, or that's that
Antifa.
person is a paid person. Exactly. And I'm like, so what makes it different here? You don't know who that guy's affiliated with, but you're using it as a starting point for vitriol.
A smoking gun. A red herring. Is that what it's called?
Yes. Yeah. Red herring. Yep.
Cool. Look at me.
But we need something that unites us as a nation in a way that it doesn't have to be a terrible event.
Preferably not planes flying into World Trade Centers. Okay.
Exactly. We need a uniting event, and the current regime is doing everything to keep us disunited.
Yes.
Classic tale.
Classic. So maybe the theme of this should be unite. Well, the organization I work with is called United We Stand. We Stand United, not United We Stand, Jesus. And they really try to do the nonpartisan approach because Missouri is not smart, I guess. I don't know. But speaking of Missouri not being smart, I was looking at the congressional maps that they drew, and they drew them incorrectly. The House and the fucking Senate do not match, and they just passed it. So is that just going to ixnay all of it? God, I hope their dumb, stupid asses are going to get it handed to them. Fucking idiots. That's what you get. That's what you get. Well, anything else we want to talk about on this crazy shit?
No, I mean, I know we're all over the place. I think the thing is just the message of unity, getting the politics out of it. I think helping people understand the real world impacts of the things that are happening by this administration. Right. Not just the vitriol about Civil War or anything else, but literally like, okay, we're now into the next school year, and all those school budgets were cut last year. And so what's now, how are schools being affected? How are your children being affected? Whether it be food programs, whether it be anything else that the right has done, all the different things across all agencies that are going to start. We are starting to feel those effects now that we're much into this.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we started kind of a campaign of like having people have an eye on local things that are going to affect people very soon and start to get a narrative out around it before it actually happens. So that we can be a step ahead.
Yeah, I like that because and that's exactly it. Because when this happens, when eventually they don't get their
they claim the narrative
card, or whenever they don't, then they're going to they'll be fed a narrative that it's our fault or whatever else. But reality is we could be able to show them now that hey, this is what's going to happen at this point in the future to you specifically,
right?
So that when it happens.
We already told you. You know who did it. And the Dems are
I
traditionally
agree. That's a good idea.
That.
I do feel like we've been doing that to some degree, and people aren't paying attention. Mm-hmm. Just like with the Project 2025, My God, Tina, you and I have been on here talking about that for well over a year.
Like they wrote a book.
A book.
Well, and I wrote a thread last December on Project 2020 on some of the key things. Like, for example, I think I brought it up before, the ASVAB is they want it to be required for all public high school students.
Yes.
But
So they can send your kid to the military.
Yeah. But if you're in a charter school, you're not required. And those are the types of things that will eventually start to affect people.
Yeah. Or like here in Missouri, like to eliminate the federal subsidy of crop insurance. That's a big deal for Missouri farmers. It's right there in the text.
Hey, they're praying about it, Lisa. Give them,
I know.
Let them
I hope it works. I wish them luck with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. I think we need to create a message showing people how they're going to be affected in the future based on these specific decisions. I had posted something last week where I'd asked people to tell me, like, what are their egg prices, what are their gas prices, what are these things, just so we can get reality out into the world. I didn't get a whole lot of response on that because suppression and all.
Right, you're being suppressed badly.
I mean, I barely get. I'll have some things that I know for a fact would easily reach 100 to 200,000 views, and I'm sitting at 10 now.
Yeah.
I mean, my Paula Zampoli was the thread that I wrote is now at like 690,000. But like, since then, I have been like super duper suppressed.
You've been pulling that string too much, Tony.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was going to give a call out to our listeners here. If anybody is wanting to do any activism work or have any ideas of how to, some solutions of moving forward.
Let's crowdsource this.
We are trying to come up with, projects that we can do on our own. We know we all have jobs and lives and everything, but this stuff is important and everybody can do something. No one can do everything. Everybody can do something, whether it is making a meme for us to disseminate to figuring out the statistics of how the algorithm is suppressing. Like, we can use it all. So, yeah.
One thing I'll say is, I'm starting to look at other. I've been loyal to X and Twitter just because it's, to me, the front of the band.
Yes. You're in the mind of your enemies.
But I just feel as if now with the suppression, my efforts are not having the reach. I'm just not sure how some of the other platforms, absorb information. Blue Sky is probably the next one I'm going to try. I think I'm going to try to put stuff onto Blue Sky and see how people respond to it.
Correct. And they're a lot more open.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see is helping to try to understand how we can reach people through various platforms as well. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, okay. So we're working on solutions. We're not just bitching here. We're doing a lot of that, but well, yeah.
Anthony, can you remind us where the folks listening can find you on X at the moment?
It's ANTHON 7, the number 7, YANDREWS, or I'm under Anthony Andrews. So the screen name is at ANTHON 7 YANDREWS.
And I'll include this in the little link down below, or the little but yeah, well, hopefully we can do this again in a week or two.
Absolutely.
I'm sure shit'll be well, I can't say popping off.
Yeah. Let's hope shit's not popping off.
We don't want it popping off.
There will be a lot of distractions that happen over the next.
I would welcome a week that we have nothing to talk about. It'd be like,
actually, no unprecedented times. No unprecedented.
We want precedented.
I know. Okay. All right. Well, it was great talking to you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back, Anthony.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. You guys are great. It helps keep me sane.
Yes.
Likewise.
It's so nice. Okay. Well, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.